One of the components that I wanted to test in the ignition system was the ignition coil. Now, according to Climber Yamaha Service Repair Maintenance Manual, the specifications on the ignition coil, right here we have primary resistance is 0.48 to 0.51 ohms, and the secondary resistance is 4.8 to 7.2 kilo ohms. Now this is a pretty good manual. It gives you a really nice diagram of how to test the primary windings using an ohm meter, and using here they've got the negative and the positive poles attached to the wire. From this wire comes from the CDI, and then this is the spark plug wire. One guy I talked to said it really doesn't matter which way your leads actually go. The only thing you shouldn't do is be touching both leads at the same time with your hands, because that will tweak with the readings. It says you can touch one lead with your hand, but don't hold the other one with your hand because there's natural resistance there. So I tested my primary windings, and I came up with approximately 0.7 ohms, which is a little high. Doesn't seem like it's too far off, and that wasn't my primary concern. Then I tested my secondary windings, and if you look at this diagram, you can see that the negative post is going again to the wire from the CDI, but this time the positive wire is going to the spark plug wire. With that, you have to make sure that you're actually making contact with the connection up inside the rubber boot. You can either stick a screwdriver up in there to kind of extend that down, or you can place a screw up in there, and that way you have something to make contact with. My readings on that were actually at 15K or 15,000 ohms, so that seemed pretty high. I did take my ignition coil to a shop, talked to a guy for a little while, and he was a little concerned with the readings, so he suggested I get a new ignition coil because that might be my problem. Rather than getting a new one, I managed to find a salvage bike place in the area, and I found another ignition coil which didn't quite fall into specs either, but I tested it and I still didn't have any spark. So I went with the assumption that even though my ignition coil wasn't quite within specs, I didn't think that it was the root of my problem. So I kind of eliminated that, and then the next thing that I'm going to test actually is the stator.